Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. On the show, you know that we hear from people as much about what made that video game special and when it made the impact in their lives as we do get into the context of how and when it surrounded and, actually made that lasting memory for them. Really stumbled through that part. Normally it's so clean. But guys, that's because this is a special episode. Here on episode 246, we are getting into another top 10 favorite video games of all time. This is the 10th edition of this one, so it's very special, where I have past guests of the show return to do the Herculean task of listing their 10 favorite video games in order. It has been compared to torture by some, but I can't wait to do it today. A little bit of housekeeping up top is that anything that my guests or I plug on the show today, you'll be able to find in a clean link in the show notes. So whether you want to follow someone on social media, read a comic, or writing that someone has done, or what have you, if you scroll down in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcasts, there's going to be a nice link there for you. Without further ado, I'll introduce the panel who's going to be listing their favorite games of all time today. First and foremost, the first of these three guests who was on originally episode 8, Chrono Trigger, was also featured on co-op episode 1, the first ever co-op episode where we discussed Breath of the Wild, and a co-op episode last year, co-op episode 46, where we discussed Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. It is none other than Nick Limon. Nick, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Who knows? Those games might be maybe making an appearance. Who knows?
Ooh.
Spoilers.
Now that's a grade A tease right there, buddy. You are in mid-season form right now. I'm so happy. Well, dude, glad to have you back. We also have someone who was on episode 11 to discuss Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Also on co-op episode 1 discussing Breath of the Wild, and was a returning guest last year on episode 210 to discuss Myst. It is Heather Woodward. Heather, welcome back.
Hello, happy to be back, and I might also have some recurring titles.
Ooh, it happens all the time on these top 10s. Turns out we often, even if people don't bring on their favorite game ever to discuss, it's usually up there for somebody.
Yeah, totally.
Last but not least, our guest who was first featured on episode 28, where we discussed XCOM, Enemy Unknown, co-op episode 5, where we discussed Shadow of the Colossus, and co-op episode 19, where we talked about Halo Infinite. It is Cody Ziglar. Cody, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I will also some things may be recurring. Also, games you just mentioned may also get an honorable mention because I forgot that I came on to talk about some of those games. So I am also happy to be here.
I love it. I did hear a reaction from you, and now I know exactly what that was for. But Zig, welcome back. 3 of my favorite people to discuss video games with, and curating these groups to come on is no easy feat, mostly because of scheduling. Scheduling's really tough, but you all made this work, so thank you so much for taking the time. This is some of the most fun, as I was telling you before the pod, that I have when we do podcasts, because I love to see just how these lists are filled out. Sometimes it's exactly what I expect. Other times there's a complete surprise waiting for me. So let's get into it. Before I go around and have you three do the deed, I am actually going to catch us up on my top 20 favorite games of all time. There's been a little bit of shifting in my 11 through 20, and I'll pull those up right now so that I have them handy. The main thing that I'll go through as I list these, there we go, Connor's 11 through 20 picks. I'm pulling them up on the stream here. The first of which is that a game that was a little higher up on my list, this is not one that I consider to be like an amazing game, but one that was really close to my heart growing up, is none other than the original Fable. That has dropped all the way to number 20. But it's still on the top 20, although it's threatening to leave. At number 19, and I'm going to zip through mine. I'll let you guys have actually a lot of time for yours, but because of people who've heard this before, I'm just zipping through it. Number 19 is none other than Alan Wake 2, one of the more recent games on this list.
Just started that game.
You just started
Tasty.
it.
Yeah, I just started. I got to the body, like the FBI agents just got there.
Yes.
Like I'm maybe 50 minutes in, and I cannot wait to like get into this game.
Ooh, dude,
What a game.
I hope I didn't set expectations too high by listing it on my top 20, but I was really captured by it when it first came out a
perfect.
couple years ago. Number 18, I'll have as my favorite game in the genre, the Metroidvania genre. It's Metroid Dread, released for the Nintendo Switch in 2021. Number 17, I have a game that my favorite game in the point-and-click adventure genre. That is Grim Fandango,
Beautiful.
LucasArts variety.
Nice.
Number 16. This funny. Most of the games these past the bottom 6 here are recent games for me. Although the top 10 you'll see is just full of nostalgia. Number 16 is Mother 3. Number 15 is Metal Gear Solid. I didn't grow up with the Metal Gear Solid series, but when we did our Metal Gear Solid Games Club in 2022, I became absolutely Kojima-pilled.
Nice.
So,
Welcome home.
hey,
Yeah.
thank you. It's good to be here. Truly,
Yeah.
Death Stranding easily could be in that exact spot. I adored that game. Number 14, a series that will not be surprising to people, but a game maybe from the series that is surprising to some, and that is Mario Kart DS, my personal favorite of Mario Kart variety. Number
tracks.
13, a game that I'm certain I'll hear from at least one person today. That is Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Number 12, Halo Combat Evolved. Again, not the best Halo, but the one that made the biggest impact on me. Number 11, Super Mario World. That'll cap off my 20 through 11. I'll zip through my 10 through 1. We have number 10, Ocarina of Time of the Legend of Zelda series. Number 9, Portal 2. Number 8, Shadow of the Colossus. Number 7, Skyrim. Number 6, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Number 5, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Number 4, Pokemon Silver. It could be the remake or the original. I don't really care. Number 3, Backyard Baseball 2001. Number 2, Super Mario 64. And at the top of my list, still tied, the tie hasn't been broken, is 1B, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and 1A, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That is my personal top 10.
Wow.
As the listener can see, my list is funky. There are games with multiple titles from a series on here. I mean, there are 3 Zelda games on this list. There's also a tie on this list. So when my guests today are going to be listing their top 10 favorite games, to the best of their ability, this is their personal favorite games. This is not the best games of all time, and there are no rules. So yeah, that's my list. You can see it updated on this video, or you just heard me say it out. Who knows how it'll be different next time, but I'll go ahead and just get us into the main event today. All right, as I move things around on our Zoom here, we are going to go in sort of a snake style where I'm going to go through everyone's number 10 and then start back with the person who went 10 last to do 9 through them. I'll guide us through it, but we are going to begin with none other than Heather Woodward.
Oh.
Heather, will you tell us what is lying at number 10 on your list?
I was frantically looking at my list being like, God damn it. Connor said one that I meant to put on my list and I totally forgot about.
Right.
What gets knocked?
Yes.
And I haven't decided yet, so I'm going to stay the course for the moment. I'm starting out with a admittedly very silly one to be on a top 10, but it's not one of the best games of the world. It's just what has hit us in the heart. Guys, classic Oregon Trail.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm going to admit something about me that is more a cry for help than anything. I'm still playing that game. I found it on an online emulator, and let me tell you, it's so simple, and it's so dumb, and it's so easy to just be like, for an hour, I'm going to see if I can max out my cart and make it across the country with all my people.
Have you had a successful trek?
I have. I have. And now it's at the point where I get like really mad if somebody dies that I like almost rage quit. Yeah, I just thought it. And at the time when I was a kid, I didn't have CD-ROM for a while. And so it was like my one friend who had it showed it to me and was like, this game is fun. We played it together a little bit, and she was never as much of a gamer as I was, so she got bored and went away, and I was like, right. I know I'm here to play with you, but I'm actually just going to sit on your computer and play this.
Hey, can I come over so that I can play your computer? I mean, play with you?
Yeah.
I remember our school, at my elementary school, had like 3 computers that had that game on it.
Yeah.
And it was so fun seeing what type of kid gravitated to what game aspect of that game. So it would be like, the hunting kids were really into the hunting section.
Yep.
The fishing kids were really into the section we had to like build a raft to go across the like river. And then it was me just being like, I just want to like make sure Mary doesn't die of dysentery. Like that's all that I want.
I'm just trying to keep my meals plentiful and my pace steady.
Yeah.
I'm also really embarrassed to admit, like, the game has gone through some gameplay updates, but it's also gone through a lot of cultural updates, and they've made a few different, more recent versions to try to clear up some of the culturally uncool stuff from the original one. And I tried them, and they don't hit as hard as the original one. I don't want. I'm not giving it any money, so I don't even feel like I'm playing an online emulator. But like, I was like, oh no, I like the bad version, but it's the good version.
Gosh, that
It's
is
a
amazing.
snapshot. It's a time capsule of a time and place. I get that.
Yeah.
Truly,
So
and
that's
what
my
a
10.
throwback too. It's about time someone honored that on a top 10. Heather, Oregon Trail, I love it.
I wouldn't have thought of it if I didn't play it like a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Just
What
like,
was
oh,
mine?
it's a perfect like COVID quarantine game. I had a
Yes.
horrible case of COVID this year.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And was like just staying in one corner of one room. Let me tell you, when your brain is foggy, Oregon Trail, it's great.
I'll add it to the list of antidotes for COVID. Incredible, Heather. That was your number 10. We'll now move to Nick. Nick, what is yours?
All right, number 10. This was an arduous process, as you've already said. At any given point in time, if you ask me what this top 10 list is, I probably wouldn't be able to name it off in the same order that I'm going to give it. So starting off, number 10 is Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hands.
Oh,
it is a
Whoa. Yeah.
Game Boy Advance game that has a solar sensor built into the cartridge itself. So in the game, you are Solar Boy Django, and you are hunting and killing vampires using the power of your solar gun. And in order to recharge your gun, you actually have to be in direct sunlight to charge the game, to charge your gun. And, you know, you scour through dungeons, you dungeon crawl, and there's spots throughout the dungeon where the sun breaks through the darkness and you can kind of be there. But as the sun starts to set, it gets harder and harder to charge your gun. It gets weaker, and if you stay in the sun too long, it overheats and then it locks you out of the ability to recharge it. So it's this kind of very strange push-pull between like survival games in an era where that wasn't really a thing, along with the the top-down original Metal Gear Solid style stealth action. Again, this is a game that was produced by Hideo Kojima, and a thing that is just basically Metal Gear Solid with the solar sensor implemented. And it's a thing that I've never been able to like not think about as one of the most clever uses of a medium. And also just, it's just cool. It's like very animeified and just very charming and interesting. And there's like different endings in the game. There's optional dungeons, and it went on to have a sequel that did make it to shores here, and then the third game, which never made it here, as well as some strange crossovers in Mega Man Battle Network a couple times. So just very odd game overall, but man, I really love it.
I remember finding out about that game through like EGM like a million years ago and be like, I want to play that game so badly. I could never find it, but now as an adult, I'm like, I love that they found a way to make kids go outside and touch grass, but still be able to play a game.
We're like, fine, we're going to trick you to the outdoors.
Yeah.
I never heard of this. This is amazing.
Good one. It's a gorgeous game with just really charming and just very clever with its use of the mechanic, and also just really solid stealth mechanics. So highly recommend. I bought this I mean, I don't think it was at launch, but I bought it at a Circuit City back when those still existed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I feel like it's just, to this day, it was the quintessential, I'm reading the box and the instruction manual on the car ride home, and it's just like, oh no, the sun's setting. I only have an hour of sunlight. All right, let's see if I can do the first dungeon. And just, I've never been able to stop thinking about it, and I love it so much.
I never thought about that. That game has a curfew.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Gosh, I thought I was like held to time in Pokemon Gold and Silver, where Pokemon would only evolve at certain times of the day, or like you if you do certain things. Let alone you had to go outside. You're the first person that I know who has even played this, Nick.
It's good. I highly recommend. It's still worth checking out. If you nasty and like to get on the emulators, somebody has come up with a clever workaround where you just basically hold the button configuration to create artificial sunlight in the game.
Yeah.
But you still have to, basically you can manipulate the solar sensor with the emulator. But again, it's handhelds are all the rage nowadays. Retro handhelds are all the rage. So it's worth tracking down a version of this game with the exactly. Worth tracking down a version of the game that works with an actual cartridge, because it is a good time.
Boktai, the sun is in your hands, Nick. That is one way to kick off a top 10. That's incredible. Zig, will now turn to you to start your list.
I'm so upset because already these two are so good and outside the box, and I'm very jealous that I didn't think a little bit harder for my answers. But I'm gonna do my number 10 is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It's a game that I spent a lot of time playing when I was in high school. When I turned 16, I called out sick to play Grand Theft Auto 3 from school, and then like 3 years later, I was like, I can't wait to play this game. But like, it was the first game that I remember playing where like it had like celebrities in it, like the fact that Samuel L. Jackson was like a character in the game. I was like, I didn't know video games could like do that, and like capturing like a version of LA in the game was incredible. But I remember it was the first game I played where I remember like role playing in a game. Like you could change your outfits and stuff, and I would dress up as a biker, and I would find I would steal a motorcycle. And if you, in certain sections of the game, you can do like the desert, and you can just find motorcycle gangs driving around. So I would join the gang and just ride with them throughout the desert of San Andreas. And it was like truly hours I spent cosplaying as these fake San Andreas like motorcycle club members. Really, really fun game that I spent an enormous amount of time playing, and I think it sort of opened the world into what video games could be. As far as like at the time, you're like they put in not only one city, they put in Las Vegas and a desert. Like there's no way video games could ever be bigger than this, and that was decades before Breath of the Wild, which gave you just an entire continent to surmount.
And before whatever GTA 6 is going to be.
Oh my god! Yeah, I saw the trailer for that yesterday. Like it's. If you told me it was just a 1-to-1 of Miami, like square footage wide, I would believe it.
Yeah, looks like it.
I mean, it is wild though with like San Andreas. I think that game is like, obviously, especially for people of our age, it is certainly a groundbreaking game. But I think it's so important because for a lot of people who may not have, there's people who play, every Call of Duty, they play every Grand Theft Auto, they play every Madden. Nothing wrong with that. But what I love about San Andreas specifically is I think it's people's first introduction to RPGs in general. Just the idea that if you lift weights, if you eat certain food in the game, you get better and worse at certain things. So it's the first time a lot of people are getting introduced into the idea of role playing. And beautiful little like anecdote you have there of joining roaming gangs that are in the countryside and just pretending you're part of their NPC posse. Like I think that's everyone who's played Grand Theft Auto at some point is like, I'm going to try and play the game according to real traffic laws. So it is wild that Grand Theft Auto kind of incentivizes and kind of encourages players to make their own fun within that space, even if that is just following the rules, which I really dig.
Gosh, amazing. GTA, San Andreas, Zig, that's your number 10. We're going to stay with you before we go around to the rest of the group. What is your number 9?
Well, sticking kind of with the car theme, it's a game that I spent maybe total a year of my life playing combined. It's Mario Kart 64 for Nintendo 64. It's sort of, as we talked about Grand Theft Auto, like it. To me, it was like the precursor to like a free roam, because there were certain ways where like there were certain levels which were like big enough, like the I think it's the, I don't know if it's Peach's level, but they have the castle from Mario 64 in the actual level.
Yeah.
You could drive up to the front door and like drive around and stuff. I remember being like, "Whoa, you can do this! Like this is crazy! Like I could get off the tracks! Like it was
You'll
incredible.
lose, but you'll be able to do it.
You will objectively lose, but it
yeah.
was like, wow, you could drive up here. This is crazy. Part of me was like, what if they just hid another game in here? What if you could just go play Mario 64? Because I was like, a 12-year-old who didn't know how video games worked. But it's a game that I spent countless hours playing, but also like the competitive angle of it. Like truly nothing felt cooler as a kid than like learning to like bunny hop over that first wall in Mario Stadium and be able to just like completely shortcut the entire track and having your cousins be so obsessed with it's incensed with you. Or, the classic feeling that everyone talks about as far as like being feet away from the finish line and just getting nuked by a blue turtle shell and having your most annoying cousin buzz past you as Peach is like top 10 core memories for me. And like, it's one of those first games that I played where I remember having such intense like rivalry moments with my friends, and also being like, you know what, we can do 4 more games, and then I look at the clock and it's 5 a.m. and their parents are coming downstairs to yell at us.
Gosh. Oh man, I wanna chime in only because
Please.
I'll take it off my list later and put the one I forgot in. I'm just gonna keep moving my list around.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's it was great, and it's like it was still in that moment too. It's easy to, because the graphics don't hold up anymore, it's like easy to forget how mind-blowing it was to have something that 3D at the time and that free. My brother and I, similar to the like going off the course, we used to do not the Grand Prix, just a duel, and
battle mode,
and drive backwards on the tracks, so that we'd never cross the finish line, so we could just fight each other on the regular tracks. It was madness, but nothing beats that balloon mode too.
It's like just like someone coming down from like the 3rd level to hitting you with the red turtle shell out of nowhere. It's such a fun gaming time.
Yeah.
That one, I listed another Mario Kart on my list, and I've got my own reasons why that's like my particular favorite, but 64 is also the one for me that started it all. Like I had a friend who had Super Circuit Super Mario Kart, excuse me, on the SNES. But this is the one where I finally got into it and played with friends, and then would have like multiple generations of memories. Like in college, this was like a game we would play to determine, like whoever lost a round had to go shower first because none of us like wanted to get ready for class or whatever. So Mario Kart 64, really great. Nick made an allusion to, or maybe it was Heather, to GTA 6 after San Andreas, but Mario Kart World sounds like it's going to be up your alley too, with all the things you were doing in 64.
I mean, I truly, when I saw the trailer that there's going to be free roaming in Mario Kart 64, I texted maybe 3 different chat groups being like, I need you to just put away $500 right now. Don't complain. Buy the game so we can start a roaming band. Connor, I don't know if you remember, if you were a part of this, but back when COVID first started, me and a group of comedy friends would do this thing called the COVID Grand Prix. We would all play Mario Kart on the Switch, and we would have tournaments every single day because we're like, COVID's only going to last 2 weeks. It'd be a fun way to burn time. But I think I created some of my most intense friendships in that like 1 month span of time, because
amazing.
It's the first time I was really getting on Discord. Like you would see my friend Tristan, who never played the game, went from being terrible to being an ace, like literally winning every single match after like 3 weeks, like after like a week. It was a really fun time. So yeah, I am definitely gonna, when I get my Switch, I will be playing the 24-person Mario Kart.
Wow, that's amazing. That's your number 9, Mario Kart 64. Nick, we're back to you for your number 9.
Now, man, all right, number 9 for me is specifically the 2006 release of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Whoa.
Oblivion for me was in that very formative time of that transition from middle school to freshman year in high school. And just like, the quintessential, I have no job, I have no responsibilities, and Bethesda just unleashed a 200-hour open world RPG. And it was the first time, like, I had played a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 3 or whatever, but I had never really played an open world game before. So, you do your tutorial section, and then the second you leave those Imperial sewers and you set foot into the open world for the first time, with the sun kind of coasting over the mountains and you see the Aelid ruins in front of you on an island, it just was one of those things that, blew my mind of just, I didn't know video games could do this. Like, there's a whole world here. And, there's NPCs that have their own personalities. They have their own schedules. If you wanted to, you could stalk an NPC that caught your attention, and they would just have their own full-on schedule. You would discover things about them that isn't a part of the story or isn't a part of the quest line. Just like, oh, hey, by the way, this person's very clearly a necromancer because every night at 9 o'clock at night, they go into their basement and they have a bunch of dismembered bodies there. Oops.
That was a terrifying time to cut out.
That was the biggest jump scare I've ever had
I've said
in a
too
podcast.
much.
Oh, no, the necromancers are here in chat.
They got me.
People who are standing the remake are just like, no, Nick, no.
Yeah,
down.
That's
Manny Marco himself is casting a spell on my camera.
Gosh, I remember having a friend in high school who was not as non-gamer as you can get, didn't play video games growing up, and got absolutely captured by Oblivion and sunk so many hours into it that, like, he was like the best student, the best athlete, but I've never seen him put the time into anything like he did Oblivion. So, man, this is one I missed, Nick, but there's so many people who, like you, have so much love for it.
Yeah, I've only done Skyrim. Should I be checking out the remake of Oblivion?
Oh, well, that's a thing that's tricky. Like, for me, I think very rarely is the first game in a series the one that is my favorite just because it was my first one. But I do think that applies for Elder Scrolls. I think your mileage may vary. One thing that it differs from in Skyrim is in its leveling progression. I think it's a leveling progression that incentivizes role-playing a little bit more than Skyrim does because you actively get better at individual abilities the more you use them. So, like, athletics and acrobatics. Just by running, you will get faster and you will improve that stat just by jumping. But one thing I really like is destruction, which is like, your fire spells and all that stuff. You can actually create spells in the game and you can do a cast fire damage on self for 1 point of damage, and you can cast that on yourself and hurt yourself in order to improve your magical ability. But I love the role-playing idea that presents of, like, this dude's so committed to the dark arts that he hurts himself in order to get better at magic. And it's just like that kind of just really opened my mind to what role-playing looks like on a scale that I'd never really seen before, since I'd only ever really played console games up until that point. So it was just like, oh wow, like the game will kind of encourage you to, be a certain type of character and rewards you for playing that role very well, which was like mind blowing to me. It was so fun.
Okay.
I had a friend that played it in when I was, I guess, high school or college, whenever it came out, and he was like, yeah, apparently there are werewolves. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, you can just like become a werewolf. I was like, wait, you're telling me all the stuff in the game you can also just become a werewolf? He's like, yeah, but also I think in one game you can become vampires. Like, I didn't realize that the game was like that deep as far as like, yeah, if you want to like just become a vampire lord, that's the thing that you can do in that game. And I was blown away at that level of freedom.
That, and also the quest lines, I do think objectively, I'm going to say it right here, I think that Oblivion has the best guild quest lines in the entirety of the Elder Scrolls series. The Dark Brotherhood, aka the Assassins Guild, is one of the most like iconic, clever things ever created. There's a quest that recreates Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, where you basically get invited to a house party and you have to figure out a way to get all of the guests to kill each other without them suspecting you. And it is the most fun, clever thing I've seen in a video game ever, even to this day. So highly, highly recommend.
I'm sold. I'm in.
Wow. Number 9, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Heather, how about yours?
I can't. Somebody already mentioned this. It must have been you, Connor, because we've only gone through so many games. Metal Gear Solid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had played anything like that. The stealth was my favorite thing in the world. I just the training levels, just the not main quest stuff.
Oh yeah,
Loved that.
The
stuff.
VR
I loved-
missions,
yeah. But I loved the quest as well. It was like the most story I had in a game by that point, I want to say. And specifically the Psycho Mantis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that scared the shit out of me. I had never experienced a game break the fourth wall. I'm not sure. I know there have been other ones like Doki Doki, but like there still a lot of games aren't doing that, and it spooked me so hard. I was like, oh no, Phantom's in the room with me.
Yeah.
So you like Castlevania?
I actually haven't played it.
Gosh, he's like, got you, Psycho Mantis. That's someone else's save on my card.
Yeah. Joke's on you. Now my brother is ruined.
Gosh,
I remember that I also had a very big reaction to that game because it was the first game I remember playing where like the enemies were smart. Like I remember like they could track your footprints and being like, wait a minute, enemies. They're computers. They can't do that. But like having to actually incorporate strategy and stealth was like a completely new experience for me because I was used to going in guns blazing and then you would get shot. And I was like, oh wait, I have to like approach this game in a different manner.
Yeah.
yeah.
I adore the Metal Gear series. I wouldn't say the first one is my favorite, but I do think that the original Metal Gear Solid is the game that I return to the most from the series because I don't know, there's just something about the perfect blend of the PS1 like polygons combined with like the blocking that's present in both the cutscenes, and just every time Snake presses himself up against like a wall, the camera shifts into that dynamic like cinematic where you just like see a game from an angle you've never seen it before, where it's like, oh, this dude very clear, like Kojima clearly loves movies, and just like you can tell that he's thinking about the game in a way that no one's really thought about games before. And I think it's just that overall packaging that always get me to come back to the game. And you know what? Maybe it is my favorite because it's just a thing that is just, it is a delightful time and place. It's so good.
Yeah, we just watched you talk yourself into it being
Yeah.
Crossing out his number one and just putting in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah.
It is very silly. I recently replayed that as part of the Master Collection, and it is silly, and I think that Kojima has a big problem with writing women in particular.
Oh yes. Meryl is no good.
I can't help but kind of be enamored with the idea that in order to tell which guard Merle is, you have to like look at their butts and see that she has a different walking gait compared to the other guards, which is like, one, very silly, but two, I'm just like, that's pretty clever. Just like from a, hey, can you spot the difference? Can you spot the fake? And I'm just like, oh, that's, it sucks on multiple reasons, but it's very clever.
Yeah, it can be both. There's also like a no pants mode. I can't remember if that's like after you clear the game or something, but there's a mode where you can just play where she's just never got pants on. And I was like, this is confusing to me.
It sounds like our buddy Kojima. Gosh.
We've come so far.
Yeah. That game, I could talk about it forever. It's like I was saying, it's one that hit me so late. I finally played it all the way through like 3 years ago, and it really captured me. Anyway, Heather, that was your number 9. What about your number 8?
I'm going to go back even more vintage now.
Ooh.
Probably not as vintage as Oregon Trail, but Bubble Bobble. Anyone know what that is?
Whoa, man.
That was like the amount of hours I lost with sleepovers with my best friend in my unair conditioned, unfinished attic, just like on the floor being like, we are going to get to level 99, so help me. I just love those little monsters, those little burpy monsters with their little bubbles.
What system was that for again?
Nintendo.
Okay, that's why I remember seeing the box art as a kid, at, like the game rental store. I remember I was like, "Why?" I was like, "Why do I know that name so well?" And now I remember.
It's perfect co-op game.
Yeah, it's the perfect co-op game. It was because I was a diehard Nintendo player since the beginning of my life, but so there's not a Mario I don't love, but that was really like the first, other than the little co-op, the little verses in Mario's, that are just they're fun, but they're limited. That was the first time I was like, oh my god, this is a game I could really play with a friend, and we can just like do this until the sun comes up. It was the best.
I do miss couch co-op. Like that is, it's starting to come back a little bit. I feel like with certain games, but like there was nothing more fun than playing like Contra and just like trying to get to the end. And of course, you never make it past the first level.
Yeah.
But like, I remember like that was such a staple memory for me growing up.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love it. Heather, number 8, Bubble Bobble. Nick, your number 8, please.
My number 8 is Kingdom Hearts 2.
Ooh.
I was wondering if someone was going to say Kingdom Hearts.
I think I'm going to be real. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of the finest, if not the finest, action RPG ever put to screen, ever put into code. I think it takes the interesting premise of the original Kingdom Hearts of Disney meets Final Fantasy, but what if combat good? I don't get me wrong. I love the original Kingdom Hearts with all my soul, but it has not aged gracefully because its combat system is very stiff. I think that the way it implements its platforming into the combat is not fun, and I think that it doesn't really incentivize encouraging the different player play styles. And I think Kingdom Hearts 2 takes everything interesting about the original and just, what if this ruled, actually? And I think everything about the combat is so much more fluid. It encourages different play styles. There's different builds you can do with all the new abilities. And also, I think it really pays off on the premise of Disney meets Final Fantasy in ways that I didn't think that basically only existed on fan forums and like fan fiction. Because like the second that you see Cloud and Squall, or Leon is how he's referenced in Kingdom Hearts, back to back, surrounded by Heartless in Hollow Bastion, little kid me is just up on his feet screaming and cheering at seeing two Final Fantasy characters fighting side by side, and it is the coolest thing. And again, just I think the perfect encapsulation of everything that series should strive to be, in my opinion. And man, it's just anime as hell too, which I love. Like the last boss battle where you're fighting back to back with Riku, and like there's like QTEs that happen that are like context sensitive based on the situation you're in combat, where you're just surrounded by like a bunch of like ballistic projectiles, and you're just like back to back bouncing them off with like two homies turn rivals turn homies again. It's just like peak melodrama at the perfect point in my life, and I adore it. I adore it so much.
I'm so upset that I never got into the Kingdom Hearts games because they seem like they were made in a lab to appeal to every single one of my sensibilities. Like, I love Final Fantasy. Never too late. I love Final Fantasy. Like, I love anime things, but also I love a good, no pun intended, like goofy game. And I've seen clips of like Goofy fighting Sephiroth next to like the clock from like, you know, Beauty and the Beast or whatever. I'm like, this game seems like a fever dream that was made for me. Like, I just never got into it though.
It's on the PlayStation Store. You got time.
Not too late.
I mean, yeah, I am very unemployed at the moment, so I could very much dive into it.
Dude, somewhere nearby, Zig, Matt Apodaca just like woke up knowing.
Yeah, I can hear him pounding
this.
Down the street right now.
Goodness. In chat, Heather Spragle saying, I was hoping when I saw the name it was going to be Heather. It was going to be Heather Woodward, and look, here you are.
Hi, Jake.
Just answering
Dreams
prayers.
do come true.
This is like one of my favorite reasons to do this episode is like, as much as I've talked games with all of you, I'm having so much revealed to me. Like somehow, Nick, I didn't know you were a Kingdom Hearts guy, and it's just it's filling in another shade. I love it. Kingdom Hearts 2, your number 8. Zig, how about yours?
Well, this is a recent addition because of the top of the show, but my number 8 is XCOM Enemy Within.
Dude. Oh my gosh.
It's a tactical, I don't know, shooter, I guess, but like I didn't get into it until like the last maybe like 10 years, but it's a game that I literally played so much that my laptop at the time died. Like the fan overheated because I would spend countless hours playing that game on Steam. If you haven't played it, it is a game that is fun, question mark. Like it is very stressful. It's one of those games that has permadeath, so you create like your little squad members, you give them names and personalities, and if they die, they never come back. And after beating the game a couple times, I sort of like understood the matrix code, so like I became so good at the game where like you could set up certain builds where basically you have a sniper that just goes up in the air and just doesn't come down for the rest of the game, and he just snipes all the enemies. It was very fun. Speaking of role playing, like I gave each of the little squad members personalities. There's like a little French guy that I gave a shotgun, and I just had him always be the point man because I thought it'd be very fun to have a French man be the point man.
Shotgun is the most French of the weapons.
I know, like les shotguns. Like I truly spent so much time curating my squad that like when I would start new games, I would just copy and paste those characters back over to new runs. Like it was a problem. Like my computer should have died. Like it needed to die in order for me to sever the connection. But it is a really fun game. It's very cheap now on Steam. If anyone is interested in those type of games, there's a guy that does a YouTube named Christopher Odd. He only does these type of Let's Plays for this game, and that's how I got into this game, was watching him do Let's Plays and like watching how he would do strategy and set up fights and stuff. It was very fun. Highly recommend it. It's addicting. Also, be warned, there is some base management stuff into it, so that stuff is not very fun, but getting boots on the ground is a very fun and stressful way to spend an evening if you're getting into like your first tactical shooter.
Incredible. Zig, and it was XCOM Enemy Unknown?
Enemy Unknown.
The one you talked about?
There's a DLC, I think, called Enemy Within.
Okay, gotcha.
I recommend that one just because you have all the stuff that's in the first ones, and you get mech suits, which is like, that's what I'm signing up for, baby. Yeah.
And I know people already know this, but if you want the full story, like, and to go down to a truly legacy episode of the podcast, episode 28, Zig breaks this all down. We go into detail about that summer. You may have been. Were you staying on someone's couch, or were you?
I think I was, because that game, I didn't have a lot of income, but I had enough money for a Steam account in that game. So that's what held my sanity together for that year. So I very much probably was on someone's couch playing XCOM.
Gosh, it's a great episode, and
XCOM is fantastic. It's so
good, dude.
Well, that's your number 8. We're gonna swing back and do your number 7 now.
Ooh, well, this has been bumped up because I replaced my original number 7. But Super Metroid, one of my all-time favorite games. The game that got me into it was like my first Super Nintendo game, to the point where like my cousin had a Super Nintendo, and I would go over to his house because he was my neighbor, and we would always go to the store and rent the game. We rented the game so many times that his mom was like, I'm gonna buy this fucking game because I cannot spend another $3. Like, we're just gonna buy this game. So they bought the game, and it was the first game that I remember 100%ing, like clearing every single thing on the map. And this is before like, you know, game facts, whatever. Like, you just had to be a 10-year-old kid in the country with like no access to do anything else besides play this video game. But like, truly, like, I found everything. We found all the bosses, all the extra energy tanks, and like realizing that like the game was, you could play games that are also kind of scary. The game is very spooky. Like, there's a cool like soundtrack that like you get like a little speed dash things, and then like me and my cousin, there's like one stretch of just a long ass hallway that you can just run down, and we would just like run back and forth. Like, that was just a little mini game that we unlocked for ourselves. One of my all time favorite games. It's a game that also got me into Castlevania series. It's been a real gateway for me, and I go back and play it every now and then on the original Super Nintendo because I still have mine, and it's just a little nostalgia boost for me.
Absolutely incredible, an all-timer, and like it just did so much for so many people at the time, and it holds up today. I know I keep gassing up games that are legends, but like, this is another one that I didn't come to until 2019 and finally play all the way through, and it's just spectacular. Nick, you looked like you were gonna say something.
Oh, no, same. I think it's one worth gassing up. I think it is a remarkable feat that they turned, granted, I know people have their soft spot for the original Metroid on NES and Metroid 2 for Game Boy, but like, to go from that, which is, I would argue, I like a lot of NES games. I think Metroid is real rough, the original, and going directly into Super Metroid is just like night and day difference of just like, dude, they really put their whole ass super in this Metroid. You know? It is fantastic.
It does seem like, oh man, Rent's due next week. We have to make sure this game is incredible. And they knocked out the part, like even that little like cold open where like you're on the space station and like you're fighting Ridley, all that, and like the timer's going off. It's great. It's like it still gives me goosebumps.
An all timer. That's your number 7, Super Metroid. Nick, how about yours?
Yeah, real quick, that title card too in the opening, you know, the last Metroid is in captivity, the galaxy is at peace, and then the glass is just there. Oh, it's so good. Number 7, right? That's where we're at?
Yes.
This is my only cheat that I have on the list.
I love it.
But it is not entirely too much, hopefully. I have the original Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake on here, sharing my number 7 spot. I love them both for similar and different reasons. I love the original because it was the first game that I played that my parents didn't know I was playing. I played the N64 version, which to this day, looking back, it's like, how the hell did they fit a 2-disc PlayStation game onto an N64 cartridge? Because one, there is also an incredible like kind of like a retrospective book called Itchy Tasty. And it just takes a look at the history of Resident Evil as a whole. And just like the thing that sticks with me to this day about the original Resident Evil 2 is the footstep sounds and echoes of your feet in the police station. I remember it being the scariest sound in the world to me because the footsteps reverberate and echo, and it's just an empty ass abandoned facility. And it's just like, dude, this is too scary for me as a kid, but it's just like I'm pushing myself to move forward. And then, you know, if you you know, as a kid, you finally beat the game and you let out a sigh of relief, but then it's like, would you like to zap and play as Claire in the second scenario? And I was like, well, what's that all about? And, you know, playing through the entire game as Leon, and then you start over and you're like, do I just play the game again as Claire? And then it's just, no, it's a different opening. You basically see all of the events from the original game, but while you were playing Leon in one part of the city, also removing items and weapons and ammo from the same area you would revisit as Claire, now that ammo is gone because you took it in your first playthrough. So it's like, oh, shoot, did I screw myself over now in my second playthrough? And just the fact that they were able to jam-pack so much game in there for Resident Evil 2 is just so impressive. And again, it was a debut title, I believe, for Hideki Kamiya, who would go on to found Platinum Games and do your Devil May Cries, your Bayonettas and all that jazz. And to this day, just one of the finest horror games to date. And then, you know, flash forward to 2019, I believe, for Resident Evil 2 Remake. And it's just like, there's no way they can do it justice. But then they did.
They could.
And just... I was really at war with myself trying to figure out RE4 remake or RE2 remake, and I think for me, bar for bar, I think RE2 remake takes it because that game of cat and mouse that you're constantly playing of just I'm weak, I have no ammo, aha, I found a bunch of ammo, now I'm better and stronger, oh no, all my ammo's gone. Like, that is just perfectly balanced, and the way it like just balances and toes the line of dread and like player empowerment is a delight. And just and to this day, I cannot think of a better high in my entire life than finally beating the no survivor hunk bonus game where you have to escape from the police station as Hunk with just like an arsenal of weapons, and you have to do it to get the trophy. You have to do it under like a minute or something like that. And just the satisfaction that I had of finally pulling it off after 80 plus attempts, and just like, dude, that was a beautiful, distilled down to its core action scene. And it was just incredible, that shaking when I'm done with it. But RE2 Remake rocks.
I remember playing the original Resident Evil 2 and being terrified because I was a child, obviously, and I should not have been playing that game. But you talked about the echoes of like the footsteps and stuff. I remember there was one jump scare. So when you play the game, there's like the way that they sort of hide loading screens is that they have the doors slowly open. But there's one door that you open that zombies pop out of, and it scared me so hard that I shut the game off and I didn't play it again for 10 years.
Yeah, I'm a horror movie nerd. I love all things horror, I can't play horror games. It's too intimate. It's like once you put yourself in there, I could watch them all day long. I watch some playthroughs of Resident Evils every now and then, and even that I'm like, that's enough.
Yeah.
Amazing. Nick, you're not the first person on this series to list these games tied with each other. A good friend of the show, Michael McCaller, has them as his favorite games ever. So his number one, and they're amazing. That's RE2 and RE2 Remake are sitting at your number 7. Heather, we'll go to you for your number 7.
Ooh, okay. So this is just a catch-all. This is
cool.
This is where I started to panic and be like, how do you ever pick your favorite?
Yes.
I'm putting original Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land out there.
Ooh, yes.
And that's also just a placeholder for Kirby across the board. Love everything Kirby. Kirby's Dream Land was the first. I was young enough that I was like stumbling through games, but like a lot of them I was like not doing very well at for a bit. And Kirby was the first time where it was like I didn't need my big sister's help to like tell me how to do it. I was like, oh, I can do this. And also, all these things have faces and they're all cute. That tree has a face and the stars have faces. I loved it. I remember like being at the grocery store with my mom and her being like, come on! And I'm like just face down in the Game Boy, like barely skittering through the grocery store.
Yeah.
It reminds me just like how great the catalog is that from Nintendo. Like they have the fact that like, you could take Kirby, Mario, Zelda, and just have them be the mascot from Nintendo, and it could work. But Nintendo has like, actually we have a dozen of these guys, and all their games are unique. Like they do not feel the same, and also every single one of them are innovative in their own unique ways.
And then sometimes they play together. Sometimes you get a melee, and then that's.
Yeah.
I've always found it fascinating with Kirby. Like it's, created by Masahiro Sakurai, who is this dude who, if you haven't and you're interested in game dev at all, he has a like 300 video series on YouTube breaking down various elements of game development. And he fronted his own money to produce this entire series because he wants to create and give back to the game development community and for aspiring developers. All worth watching. I think just a brilliant mind, a dude who plays so many games, and a guy who is so eloquent in the way he talks about what makes certain games unique and special. I find it infinitely fascinating that this dude who, on paper should be making, a Dark Souls to some extent, something that's crazy, distills his like mastery of the medium and what games can do down to a game that no shade, it is for kids. It's a game that's pretty simple, and I think for a lot of people it's their first game that they can beat. But I think it's taking that mastery and understanding of the medium and being like, here's what it looks like at its most elegant and simple, like the simplest form of it, and how you make something approachable for someone who may not have even heard of what a video game is just a thing that I'm always thinking about. And I'm just like, dude, what a G.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know about that series. I'm going to check that out.
Well worth watching.
It's great. And meanwhile, this whole time, I guess he did that series years ago and has now just been working on Kirby Air Riders in secret. So
yeah.
This guy is just a
Drop
genius.
that bomb.
He don't rest.
No, never. And he needs it.
Kirby Forgotten Kingdom is real good.
Oh, I love that.
That's also
game.
like
And
a
it's getting
really
an
nice.
update.
I know. That's a good
wait, really?
co-op, couch co-op too.
Ooh,
That's a
perfect.
nice.
It's getting
like,
a Switch 2. It's getting a Switch 2 update, and from what little I've played of it, it is pretty good.
Ooh.
God, the Kirby, like not fully absorbing items, being like he's just wrapped around a light bulb
Genius.
now. So freaking cute and so fun.
Yeah, mouthful mode is just a gift to all mankind.
Yeah.
Mouthful mode.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is literally what it's called.
Yeah, he can't digest the car or take the essence of the car. If we're gonna get into like Kirby lore, it's like, oh, I don't know why he didn't swallow that car, but I'm glad he's a little car now.
Yeah, true.
Every time that I do this show, I always start making a list of games I got to add, and like it's already started. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
That's amazing. Kirby's Dream Land, Heather, I love that for your number 7. We're going to stay with you for your number 6.
Oh, okay. Let me see. What is my... Oh, okay. I feel strongly about this game, and I've never met anyone else in the wild who's actually played it. Gex, Enter the Gecko.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
PS1.
we love a problematic early 2000s mascot.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love a quip. We love a reference to the movies that were 20 years out of date at the time that they came out.
Yes. That's me. That's me. I'm out of date. I goddamn love that game. It's just a platformer. It's just Mario 64, but it's got a bunch of Simpsons writers behind it, just doing a bunch of pop culture references and a bunch of one-liners. And the gameplay was fun. The comedy is what blew my mind. I did not. Games could have funny moments, but the idea that a game could be a comedic game was new to me at the time, and it absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah, I had the same. I didn't know there were Simpsons writers behind it, but now it makes total sense.
Yeah,
Like
Dana Gould is one of them. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 people. I'm Matt, I'm blanking on the names now, but yeah,
That makes
He's also the
total
voice
sense.
of Gex, right? Dana Gould.
he might be.
I think so.
Yeah.
that Gex. I remember Gex and I think it was like Blasto or what. It was like a Phil Hartman character. Those are the 2 games that like define the PlayStation era for me, like the like second party PlayStation game. Because I remember I would always rent those games. It's like that,
Dude, hell
and
yeah.
Spyro were like the games that I was always renting and like always dying on. But I remember like those are the first 2 games where I played where I'm like, oh, the gameplay is like whatever, but like this guy is really funny. I don't get this joke that he's making because I'm like 7 years old or whatever old it was. But I was like, oh, Sean Connery. Okay, yeah, this is a funny reference. And like now that I can look back on it now, I'm like, that's gonna be such a sweet gig. You get paid to write jokes just for yourself, and you get to make a video game about it. Like I would kill for that job.
I'm still chasing it.
I would posit that Gex Enter the Gecko is the first phenomena of like a kid who decides they want to watch Family Guy because they think that they have a better sense of humor than kids their own age, and this is like maybe a little too old for you, but not completely. So it's like, you're a cool kid. You like this game that's a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but you're gonna have good taste when you get older.
Yeah, and I remember having that vague feeling that I feel like a lot of us can recall of the like, I know this is funny. And I don't know why. And I know I'm also not supposed to repeat it in front of my parents. And I don't know why.
Heather,
Dude,
this just informs...
I gotta replay this game.
Yeah.
I gotta replay this game.
The appetite is there again. Heather, this just is like so informative about, you know, yourself, knowing you as just like such a brilliant comedy writer and improviser and actor, and also, but kind of your taste too, and kind of where like part of that, like a shade of your taste can come from. This is so amazing. Gex, Enter the Gecko, your number 6. Nick Limon, let's get your number 6.
Number 6, I was a little surprised it's at where it is, but I'm gonna put Breath of the Wild at number 6.
All right.
I was very pleasantly surprised to hear you list Breath of the Wild and Majora's Mask tied, because until Breath of the Wild, Majora's Mask was my favorite Zelda.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it's just I think all of these games that are on my list are just games that I'm always thinking about. Like maybe twice a week I will think about at least one of these games, and I think that's gotta say something about like how I feel about them. So that's kind of why I listed them. And for me, Breath of the Wild is just a sense of place that I don't think I've ever really experienced in a game before. The idea of waking up in a world that has, you know, disappeared, and now I'm kind of uncovering the traces of the civilization that came before, and just you know, the storytelling that each player has. That, you know, the game is designed in a way where everyone has experience. Like all of the gameplay mechanics are designed in a way for everyone to come away from Breath of the Wild with moments that only they did or felt like they could only pull off. But in theory, that's, you know, the beauty of the you know, the man behind the curtain is they've been orchestrating that the entire time. They just gave you the tools and they expected you to do that, but they do such a good job of making it feel like only you pulled it off. And there's just, again, as a dude who loves like Princess Mononoke and Studio Ghibli and stuff like that, like it's just something that felt like the first time I'm actually playing a movie in that regard, where I'm just like, this is just an amalgamation of the people who are really good at what they do, firing on all cylinders, and I'm just blessed enough to be experiencing it in my lifetime.
And the game is so rich and dense in a way that seems almost incomprehensible, but in like a good way. Like, I think I probably talked about this when I was on the show, but like there was a moment when I was like maybe 20 hours in, I was like, oh, I've seen everything. I've seen like, I know what this game is. Like, I understand what the experience is. And I just hear this crazy violin music playing. I was like, what is this? And I like tilt the camera up and I just see a dragon come out of the sky. I remember saying out loud, they got dragons? And like, it unlocked something so powerful in me that like I just followed this dragon. Why like just it didn't really do it. It just came down.
Yep.
Like flew around, was very beautiful, and I followed it around. I was like, oh, this like 5-minute moment was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And my instinct wasn't to like attack it or like mine it. It was just like to be in awe of this beautiful creature that came from on high and disappeared back into the skies or whatever. And I was like, I've never experienced that in any video game I've ever played. And also I was like, what else have I not seen in this world yet?
Yeah. I love the moment that
like
we
a
all
sense of magic.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
I love the moment we all definitely had at one point or another when we first saw the dragons be like, I'm going to try to ride that dragon. Then you find out you cannot. It's just going to throw you and freeze you and stuff.
You died as I careen to the ground.
You're like, oh, I'm on fire now.
I love that this one is on your list, selfishly, Nick, because not only were, both you and Heather on the first ever co-op episode that we ever did, which people probably know, but it's more of an overview series where instead of talking to one person about a game, a group of us try to distill our thoughts and feelings about it at once. It was the perfect one to kick that off with. But also, Nick, I remember, we know each other because we went to college together. And when this game came out and the Switch launched, I remember you posting about it on social media, and I was and us reconnecting over Breath of the Wild. So selfishly, I'm extra glad that it's on this list. An all-timer.
I love it.
Sorry, was someone going to say something?
No,
I don't think
just
so.
awing.
Okay, we'll take an awe. That's your number 6, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Zig, how about your number 6?
This is sort of entering the territory now where like all these games can sort of like be at the same level. Like it's not it's a number 6, but I don't know if it will be my true number 6 next week.
Yes.
But it is the first Last of Us. I believe it came out on the PS3 first before eventually getting remastered and then remake. I recommend the remaster or the remake, just because the fidelity is incredible. But like, it was the first game where I played where I'm like, oh, I don't care about playing the game. Like, I just want to like watch this story. Like, I want to watch these characters. Like, I remember being riveted by the performances in this game. It is some of the best acting I had seen at the time. And the world was so rich, and then also Ellie in the game is so fucking adorable. And like her relationship with Joel and like that whole father-daughter sort of subtext, and like I love a good like road movie. Like I love A Lone Wolf and Cub. I love The Road. Like I love that type of storytelling. Like, and no spoilers now because the game's been out, so hopefully you've seen it. But like the ending being like, oh, wait, what? Like this? No one's happy. Like what? We're just going to leave on this like giant sort of Damocles, like this emotional like there's no resolution with the emotions. Like it leaves on like a big downer where like they're not going to have trust. Like it blew my mind away. Like
I would argue the second game ends the same.
Yeah. Well, keep looking for this list. It may pop up again. Like I remember it really like blew me away. And I was playing it at the time on like a 4x3 non-high def TV monitor, so like I couldn't really even tell what was going on for most of the game. So like when I finally played the remaster like last year, I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff that I missed in this game. But one of my favorite games of all time, like just the like as far as if I want to think about like the writing of a game and like the performances, like I always revisit the Last of Us series. Yeah,
one that really stands on its own is just like Naughty Dog working at just the absolute peak of their powers.
Yeah.
And it's just getting it's day in the sun the last couple of years, especially with the series coming out, and now season 2 which is essentially the beginning of the second game is out. Yeah, The Last of Us. I was also late to this. I think it was the first game when I finally got a PlayStation 4, my first PlayStation console since I owned a PSP as a kid, that was the first game that I played. Because I remember when it was coming out on the PS3, seeing ads for it my first year in LA and being like, I have got to play this thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The Last of Us, Zig, that's your number 6. We'll stay with you for your number 5.
Okay, this was when I was really struggling with, but I'll just get to it. It is Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the Dreamcast, specifically for the Dreamcast. Dreamcast is probably hands down my favorite console. I love all my children equally, but the Dreamcast, it was there for me for a very special period of time. I loved Sonic Adventures 1 and 2.
Yes.
Cruising around the speed of sound, like one of the best lyrics to ever do it. But the fun thing about the Dreamcast, if you may not know, is that like for some reason they didn't put any type of like restrictions on the system, so you could just fully download games and burn them and play them on the Dreamcast. Like there was no type of like anti-piracy software. So when I was in college, I downloaded a ROM of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and just fully, that was my personality. Like I spent truly sophomore year till senior year in the practice mode on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like learning all the juggles, like learning every single character back and forth. I remember like I had a big goal for one summer, which is like I want to be able to like punch a character in the air and have them not go down for the entire like match, and like that was my goal. Like truly, it's a game that I'm not a big fighting game person. Like I've played them or whatever, but like that was my game that really locked into it. So much to the point where like I now have a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet in my living room.
Dude,
like
nice.
it's haunted me. I have had it on every single system since then. Like I think it was on like the PS4 store. I have it on that. I have it on the PS5 now. If it's on the Steam Deck, I will probably get it on the Steam Deck. Like it's a game that has haunted me for years. And the funny thing is, like, I'm not even that good at it. Like if I go online, I lose instantly. But like I just have such fun memories of spending almost my entire college career playing that game in my shitty apartment with my friends. And also the soundtrack,
dude,
slaps.
we're gonna
Goes
take you
hard.
for a ride.
Take me for a ride,
Funky,
baby.
Fun,
Funk,
energetic.
a funk jazz soundtrack for absolutely no reason, and it goes hard as fuck.
If
I think
go ahead, Nick.
to this day, like some of the most beautiful sprite work I've ever
Yes.
seen put to screen. Like
Yeah.
I would kill for like an anime that looks like the way Marvel vs. Capcom 2 looks, and just
Yes.
it's just so charming and cool. And like in an era where nowadays like crossovers for superheroes and like intellectual properties and a dime a dozen these days, but
Yeah.
there's just something special about seeing Ryu fighting alongside Venom, and it's just like, dude,
Yeah.
this we have gone too far as a species. Like this is we peaked early on with this
Yeah.
crossover.
We
Yeah,
were
we
never meant
peaked
to
when-
have this.
Yeah, we peaked when Guile could uppercut the Incredible Hulk. Like that's where we peaked as a country and society.
Zig, if you were in a Space Jam type scenario like tomorrow, where you're going up
Yeah.
against the Monstars and you've got to pick your lineup of 3, what
Yeah.
would that be?
I guess I got to go with my team that I had on Marvel vs. Capcom. My girl Cammy, I love her. She held me down. I'm biased. I got to put Spider-Man.
All
in
right.
there. And I will forever be a ride or die for Team Ken. I love Ken. He's objectively the cooler of the Ryu clones. Red's also my favorite color. Those are my 3. We're dog walking them. We're winning.
All right. Cammy, Spider-Man, Ken. I love it, Zig. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, specifically for the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Nick, we're back to you for your number 5.
Number 5, again, these are all just
This is
tough,
where you
but,
start to feel actual pain when you say each one.
Yeah.
for this one, there's got to be my main man, Yasumi Matsuno, with Final Fantasy Tactics.
Tactics. Whoa.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy Tactics was the one that, as a kid, like my brother had it, and I would load into it, and I'd be like, these people are speaking English, but I don't really understand what they're saying, because it is trying to evoke like that faux Middle English that, you know, the original game. I would learn years later that the original game didn't have the best localization, because it was like a half-hearted attempt at kind of mimicking Middle English that we would later see improved upon in stuff like Vagrant Story, also by Yasumi Matsuno, and then the remaster of Final Fantasy Tactics with War of the Lions on PSP, which got a good localization. But it's just all the things I love about the nitty-gritty of Final Fantasy in terms of the job system, the fact that you can start off as a black mage and then suddenly become a time wizard or an astrologian, or, you know, a numerologist, and just like this idea that, like the XCOM of it all, you would start to in your head assign personalities to all of your units in your little squadron, that your squadron of superheroes, essentially, because I think that's what it would separate it from something like Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. Like Final Fantasy Tactics, you are basically making an Avengers squad, because everyone is an absolute god killer by the end of the game. Whereas in something like Tactics Ogre, they're more like traditional army units, where it's like, nah, that's just an archer. Like, they will die if a dude with the sword hits them. So like, I just love the power fantasy of something like Final Fantasy Tactics, because it felt like a ragtag team of people that, you know, I built, and I like cleverly manipulated their abilities to unlock their full potential. And also, the first time I think I experienced a story in a game where it's like, the game is about how this historic, you are like recounting the historic events of this war, of the War of the Lions. And it paints this you know, tragic war hero known as Delita, who is the reason, and like the war hero, right? But what you didn't know, what the history books don't want you to know, is that you, as the main character, were erased from the records. So it's the idea of like, you don't get your shot, your time in the spotlight. You are unfortunately a victim of history, but you contributed to it. So I just love the idea that you were like, man, it's not all about you, homie. Like, I really, really like that.
Incredible. Just, it's one of those all-time great PS1 RPGs that like people can just sink their lives into. I love that. Did you ever play the GBA version? I know it's different.
I still love Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and you know, A2 for the DS and all that stuff. But for me, it's just something about the original game in particular is a game that made me feel like I was playing something, like, not because it's mature or anything, but just more like, I take that back. It felt like I was playing something more mature, but not adult. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like, oh, I'm a little kid with a high school reading level. Like, I can handle this kind of thing. So it felt like I'm reading something that, like, maybe it might be a little too advanced for me. That's why I gravitate towards it. Treats you like an adult, which is what I like.
I see.
I really wanted to get into it when it first came out, because I heard that Cloud, you could get Cloud in the game, and I wanted to, and then I saw how difficult it was to get it. I was like, you know what, I'll come back to this, and I just never came back to it.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Final Fantasy Tactics. Nick, that was your number 5. Heather, how about your number 5?
Okay, this is the one I subbed out when I was like, ooh, Mario Kart 64, me too.
Yes.
And similar to Kirby, that was going to be my like placeholder for all Marios. That was my cheat, was the like, I love them all. And so I was like, what do I pick? Do I pick Mario 3? Do I pick Super Mario World? Is that? No, okay, I'll just one. Just Mario. And now they're still there, but I swapped it out for Tony Hawk 3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was just, never played sports games. Mostly still don't. This was the one that I was like, oh, this one's for me. I get it. It's so fun. It's so satisfying. I don't know if you really count it as, like, the mechanics are so different than sports games, but it is technically a sport.
We'll count it. Yeah.
It was just so fun. It felt so good to play. It felt so good to just try to like max out all your combos and everything. And that soundtrack, that like, I was like, oh, I didn't know the shows I was going to, the music would be in the game I play. That's crazy. I was a punky ska kid, so I was like, what do you mean Pennywise is in this game? What do you mean it's no effects? Like, oh, I loved it.
I distinctly remember I mean, I would play the game endlessly, but I remember sometimes I would just like put it on a stage and just have the music playing in the background and not even touch the controller.
Yep.
Just so I could have like a little playlist going on.
Yep.
Big time.
And if I'm not mistaken, is this the one with the Canada level where you can do like a nose grab or a nose trick and then make a dude who's peeing fall off the edge of the world?
I don't think it's that one.
You
If
could
it is, I
definitely
didn't
bury
find
a bully
it.
in that level, though.
Yeah, I
Gosh.
feel like I would have found that if I could have.
Heather, this is my personal favorite Tony Hawk game as well. So, like, I am
What
right
system
there
was
with
this for
you.
again?
This was the
N64.
Okay.
and it came out like it's the last one on the 64. It released in 2001, so it was also a GameCube, PS2, and I believe also an Xbox title.
Okay.
Yeah.
It introduced the revert to the series, where
Oh,
you at the
man,
end
I
of a
didn't know
vert
that.
trick, you could chain it together with a manual. It was the one that with like the 3D graphics too at the time just blew me away. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
so much more realistic. Introduced me to like Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Yes. All right.
It's yeah,
Did this one have the airport level? in
Yes.
it? Or like a
Yeah.
all right, then yes, I definitely had this on the Xbox. Yeah. Okay.
big
yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
is going to be a part of the 3+4 remake this summer.
Let's go.
Can't wait.
Oh God, it looks so good.
It really does. What was I gonna? Oh, I was gonna say this is. I mean, so many of the games that we were discussing today are past co-op games. We actually covered this at the end of last year in the Great Sequels series that I did on the co-op series last year, and so that's on YouTube for anyone who's not a Patreon supporter. That whole episode with me, Jeremy Schmidt, Jacques Maladou, and Joan Ford. It's a blast. But Heather, that's an incredible pick for your number 5. What about your number 4?
Oh, my number 4. Oh, okay. Well, this is old news because I've done this on this show before. But now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Myst.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
One of my. It was almost number 1, and I got to that place where I was really like fidgeting with my list, and then
Totally.
I was like, not that deep, just make the list. I've already talked to you, Connor, for well over an hour about it,
Yes.
so I'll try to be brief. But like, it just blew my mind. I also played it at the same friend's house with the CD-ROM who didn't want me to play Oregon Trail. She wore out on Myst real fast, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I do need to keep playing this. And I could only get anywhere through it with a walkthrough book that I had to purchase in a store. And then I revisited it in college, being like, I remember it enough to know that I love it, and I don't remember it well enough to have all the answers to the puzzles. And I'm grown now, I'll be able to play it and surely be able to beat it. And it was still really hard. I still had to look up some stuff.
I was about to ask, have you replayed it recently?
Yes.
Okay.
It's great.
How's it? How's it?
They just remastered it too in
Yeah.
a way that I was like, it was always a game that growing up, because I didn't grow up with the PC, but I always looked at that. I was like, dude, that game looks like realistic. Like it
Yeah.
looks nuts.
That's
and
what it
like seeing
was.
the remaster, I got that same feeling. So yeah, I'm curious what you think about it.
It's gorgeous. It's the to me it's the beginning of environmental storytelling in games as we know it. It's essentially an escape room but a game. I mean, the puzzles operate in the same way, where it's like you just gotta kind of put the pieces together about what you're looking for. There's no walking you through what puzzles you're trying to solve. You're just trying to move through to the next thing. And the narrative is so rich, but you almost never talk to a single character. There's no dialogue. There's like minutes collective of dialogue, and that's it. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at. The puzzles are harder than they probably should be, but interesting. And that story is amazing. I love it to pieces. Oh, and I played it recently. I played the remaster with my husband, who had never played it, so I kind of let him take the wheel, but I was kind of still playing. I had forgotten the answers to a lot of things. And so, but it was so fun to watch him play it for the first time, like relive it for the first time through him.
Gosh, such an influential title. Before we get Nick's number 4, it's not the exact same game, but I've heard enough people reference Myst when playing this new title, Heather, you might enjoy, called Blueprints. Have you heard of this?
No, but I'm writing it down.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's a game. Nick, have you played this?
Dude, Blueprints is incredible. Highly recommend. If you like Myst, you're gonna love this game.
Oh shit, I'm gonna download it tonight.
It's if you have Game Pass, it's currently on Game Pass. It's a first person sort of opaque puzzle game where, just to set the premise really quick, you play someone who is like exploring your uncle's mansion, and if you can find the mysterious and hidden 46th floor, or sorry, 46th room, you inherit the mansion. And every day you basically do a run a day and you learn things. And anyway, it's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Me and my girlfriend Amanda are, like, try to play it every night together, and she's more locked into it than I am. She's like asking to play. It's great. So
Sold.
Heather, I'm so glad that Myst came up today as your number 4. Nick, tell me your number 4.
All right, my number 4 is, I experienced it during the pandemic, and to this day I've become obsessed with it. Every ounce of this series, and broken series in some weird ways, is the original Nier. I'm talking the Xbox 360, PS3 version, but specifically the Xbox 360 version of Nier, because weird thing that happened in the time that the game came out, there was like this weird moment in the games industry where people were like, oh, it's a Japanese game, like we want like Gears of War men, we want like dudes who are badass, buff, and full of like muscle and stuff like that, because in the PS3 version of the game, he's this beautiful beach shonen boy who is very evocative of a beautiful man, a la Link from Legend of Zelda, right? And so to kind of try and appease a Western market, when they made the Xbox 360 version of the game, they made him basically look like an old man with like Gears of War like style muscle. So it's a completely different main character model from the PlayStation 3 version. But I do think that the Xbox 360 old man father, as opposed to the brother in the original Nier on PS3, is thematically more appropriate. But TLDR, it's a game set in a post-apocalyptic fantasy land where the game opens on a futuristic Tokyo that's been look like glassed over. It's like nuclear winter, and you are there on the basically last day of your little sister's life, and your little sister touches this magical book that curses her. And then cut to flash forward 300 years later, you are the same person, and now the world has gone by. You now exist in this more like medieval fantasy land, and you are trying to uncover what's happened to this world. This is a game from Yoko Taro, who would go on to make Nier Automata, which is the game that people will likely get introduced to this series through, which I was as well. But going back to the original Nier, man, that soundtrack goes hard, so much so that I attended one of those music symphonies when I was in serendipitously, when I was in Thailand. They happened to have the orchestra there in Thailand, so I was like, dude, it's calling to me. Sorry, significant other, but we're going to the Nier concert. And just one of those things of like, it transcends. It is the thing that is like, Yoko Taro understands what is special about the medium of video games and how you can kind of break the mold in order to do something interesting. We talked a little bit about games breaking the fourth wall, and this does it in some clever ways. Sometimes it's an action RPG, sometimes it's a platformer, sometimes it's a shoot 'em up, sometimes it's a visual novel, and just the way it blends all of these things effortlessly, you can just tell that it was made by someone who truly loves the medium of video games. And this is one of those games with 4 endings depending on which version you play, and the real ending is pretty fascinating with what happens just mechanically from a video game standpoint. It's a thing that when you see it, it's like, oh shit, I didn't know a game could do something like that. Like, that's nuts. And it's a thing that you see happen in Nier Automata as well, and I think other games have done something similar. But man, it is just one of those things that this perfect blend, because this game got remastered as well as Nier Replicant and modern hardware, but I still recommend the original version because it's that perfect level of game that didn't have a budget, so it has a level of jank to it that just makes it feel more charming and enticing to me, that feels more warm blanket. And it's just, again, if you love melodrama, if you love early 2000s anime, and you love just really messed up like psychological trauma and just magic and futurism. It is just this weird amalgamation of just something truly special, and that soundtrack, you're going to be hunting it down once you're done with the game because it is so good.
Ooh, I'm getting so many recommendations out of this episode.
Nick, did you or did Jeremy, one of you borrowed this game from each other like right before the pandemic? Do you remember who it was?
Not me. I don't think I lent it to anyone. I lent it my old roommate.
I didn't let it out of my sight.
Yeah. Would never.
I lent him Nier Automata, but this is a game that, man, just you have to beat the game like 4 times in order to beat it. I did that in COVID 2020, and then I replayed it when they released a remaster, and I beat it another 4 times, and I was just like, dude, what's wrong with me? But this game rocks. But man, it is just it's really good.
Well, how appropriate to beat it. You need to beat it 4 times because it's your number 4 on your list. Nier the original. That's just meant to be. Zig, tell us your number 4.
This is a game that is very near and dear to my heart. I don't know how popular it was, but it's Advanced Wars Dual Strike for the Nintendo DS. It is a strategy game, a game that I think at the time in high school I put 600 hours into. It's one of my absolute favorite series. They just released a remake of Advanced Wars 1 and 2 on the Switch. I recommend it. Very fun, very easy to get into. It's a game that ostensibly it's about these different nations that are all going to war, and each sort of army is led by these things called COs, which all have like different quirky superpowers. There's a guy named Olaf who is very much just a Russian guy. And his power is he can make winter sort of blink at the map, and like it cuts your fuel costs in half and all that stuff. But it's also a game that has a bunch of different modes. There's like a little arcade mode where like you drive a little tank around and like you can blow up little guys. You can also do custom maps. And the reason that I have 500 plus hours on this game is that in high school I would create my own custom maps endlessly in this game, and I would share them with friends. It's a game that it actually made me go to Connor, do you know the name of that game store in Burbank?
Game Realms?
There's
a bunch.
Game Dude. Yeah, Game Dudes.
Nice, Nick.
Yeah. I went to Game Dudes like the end of last year and bought a refurbished DS and a copy of this game so I could play it again.
Amazing.
If you're looking for like a very fun, easy strategy game to get into, very fun soundtrack, very fun, cute art styles, a lot of personality, I highly recommend it. Or if you want something a little bit more updated, like go check out the remastered version on Switch. And if you happen to like it, maybe you can find me on there and play. Again, I have put 500 plus hours in this game in high school. I love yelling about this game, and it's a game that I don't see talked about nearly enough.
Gosh, good to see more DS representation on here, Zig.
Thank you.
Especially a DS title that has the DS in
Yes.
it.
Yeah, back when they were
Yeah.
like, Nintendo's like, we got to work in this DS any way you can, guys. Please.
Yeah.
We're dying over here.
Yeah.
I do love Dual Strike because I believe they just kind of recreate the second game as part of the main campaign. So it's like, I didn't play the GBA one, but I can just play it here in the DS one. And dude, that game is just jam-packed and overly generous with the content. Like, there's just a mind-blowing amount of stuff to do.
Yeah, there's like a main campaign, there's a bonus campaign. You can go in and do like the hard version, which is just like the maps are like a little bit more fun and enticing. Like, they also have pre-made maps on the thing that you can play on. Like, it's an incredibly dense game for $30-$40, however much it cost back in the day. Like, again, I will yell about this game forever. I highly recommend, please track it down and play it if you get a chance to.
Number 4, Advance Wars Dual Strike. Zig, before we move on, let's get your number 3.
Number 3, this is a combo. It is
Yes.
Halo or Halo Reach.
All right.
And I know they're both on different consoles, but they're both near and dear to my heart. Connor, sort of like you, Halo. Halo gets the first billing because it's the first game I got for the Xbox.
Yeah.
It's my distinct memory is My mom got me an Xbox and this game for Christmas, and she was like, for Christmas Eve, I'll let you open up one of your Christmas gifts, and it was Halo, so I couldn't play it. So I just spent the entire Christmas Eve reading the booklet front and back, like reading about like the different factions, like the different weapons, what type of ammo the weapons had. Like truly, I was locked in on this game, and the story at the time was very big for me. Like I had never seen something with the scale, the scope, the music is incredible. The set pieces are incredible. I remember they had this really fun little detail that I'd never seen in a game before, where like at the time, I'm sure they got rid of it in subsequent games, but like if you shot a gun, the bullets just stayed on the map indefinitely. So you could just have tons of like bullets on the map, but also the bodies didn't despawn. So like it was this fun, interesting way where if you got lost, you could tell if you had been through an area because the enemy was still there. Also co-op and crazy. The first game I had a LAN party with. It carried me through high school into college. Just a beautiful game that also got me into like the sort of like meta of it all, like the books, the comic books. Wow. Like I remember I at the time Xbox or Microsoft had like the three book set that you could buy. I begged my mom to drive me to Borders to buy it, and I tore through all of them. I ended up reading I think maybe 6 or 7 more Halo books, like because they're right up my alley when it comes to sci-fi.
Eric Nyland is the homie, man. The Fall of Reach.
Yeah, look, man, he cooked. Buddy was cooking with that book. Like it was incredible. Like, and the reason that I have Halo Reach is because I enjoyed that book so much that I was like, man, I would love to be able to play this version of the game. And Halo Reach, another fantastic game, a bummer game, but in a fun, interesting way that sort of. It ends on like a note where like, oh, maybe we can all come together at the end. There's this idea of like the eternal return where like, even if humans are gone, nature will find a way. Like a game that also me and my friends in grad school spent endless hours playing the Horde mode. The first game that I remember having a Horde mode where we would truly if we could get like a 45-minute run, that was a good Saturday night for us.
Dude. Incredible. I remember also my first LAN party ever was playing Halo Combat Evolved on the Xbox at a friend's house, and I had never played it before, and I would like just lusted after that disc for the longest time.
Yeah. Also, it spawned this whole like subculture of like machinima art, like making short stories and films with like video game, like the whole Rooster Teeth and all that whole ecosystem that spawned out of it. Like it was shocking at the time to be like, this game that I spent hours decimating my friends in has spun out into a whole genre of like new form of like storytelling.
That's amazing. Halo or Halo Reach as your number 3. I love it. Nick, how about your number 3?
Number 3 is my favorite Final Fantasy, but one that I will recognize up front is not the best one. I will say Final Fantasy VII is my number 3 favorite game of all time.
Yes.
I mean, you can probably, I don't think you can count the amount of times I've gushed about the original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation. It is a game to me that was cinematic in a way before what I knew what that was. Just the idea that this thing was so big, it was on 3 discs. All of the marketing for the game was such like, this summer you won't be able. The biggest blockbuster of the summer isn't coming to your local theater. It's only on PlayStation. And it's just like seeing the impressive cutscenes and just like, dude, this guy, like, it was like I'm starting to like, I don't really know what Japan is. I don't know what anime is. But it's like this thing of like, wait a second, all of these things are kind of similar that I like. I don't really know why, but there's something about them that I'm just like really into. And just, again, I as a preteen and teenager, and honestly, as a grown-ass man, I am still drawn to melodrama. I think that melodrama gets thrown around as a bad word nowadays, and I think that is quite the opposite. I think when it's done well, it's something that it speaks to the human soul, and there's something that's so delightful about Final Fantasy VII being like, we've all seen permutations of this story to some extent, but seeing it having that be your first one is like, dude, this is crazy. And just like the third act reveal of what's actually happening is just a thing that blew my mind. And super tiny anecdote I have, but I had, I inherited my brother's PlayStation. I inherited his copy of Final Fantasy VII, and he unfortunately did not take very good care of his discs. So disc 1 was really scratched up. And I remember there was a certain part in disc 1 where you're escaping the Sector 7 slums when Shinra destroys the
like the plate?
Yeah, the plates, exactly. Yeah. There's a part where the party gets on the little cable line to swing out, and then a cutscene plays. But my disc would always get stuck there, and I would just, every Saturday I'd play the game for 4 hours, get to that point, and be like, cool, all right, well that's a good Saturday. I guess I'm done with this game. And then this is the advent of, me being able to use the internet. I research how can I fix a PlayStation 1 disc, and I don't know why it worked, but I saw someone say, just throw it in the freezer. So I threw it in the freezer for like 2 hours, pulled it out, loaded my save up just before it happened, and held my breath. You get to the moment, and then it hitched for a second, and then it continued, and I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
I can keep playing the game now.
Dude, into the great unknown.
Whoa. I don't know, but to this day, it's just like,
so
I think
weird.
that the trials and tribulations of a child trying to play, like, do not underestimate the powers of a child who wants to play a video game. And I think that it is a core memory for me, that it is why I love Final Fantasy and why Final Fantasy VII is my favorite.
Gosh, it truly is so iconic. And I love the whole series, the ones I've played, but that one, the way it has just become its own universe, Final Fantasy VII, I can't wait to see how they, in my assumption, conclude the new remake trilogy. Whenever we get that, we'll see.
God, I love that. I won't get into it because you just so eloquently talked about it, but I love that also had a very similar reaction where I know games could be this big. I know they could be this symphonic. I also didn't know they could be this dark but also funny at the same time. It was also, the music blew me away when the first time you hear One Winged Angel. I was like, what you could do this in a video game? It's a phenomenal first time experiencing it.
Amazing. Nick, that was your number 3. Heather, we're back to you for your number 3.
My number 3 is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, dude!
Oh, yes.
Here's
banger
the thing.
After banger.
I played it late. I played it like a full 10 or so years after it came out. I don't know why it was a blind spot for me, but I was like, what do you mean I missed this Star Wars game? And I just demolished it. And then I played it again right away. That twist I should have seen coming, but it blew my mind.
Yep.
I loved everything about it. Even after the fact where it was like, oh, this gameplay doesn't fully hold up, and these graphics don't fully hold up. Doesn't matter.
What made you get into it after the 10 years after it came out? What made you get into it?
Wasn't aware of it.
Okay.
It was, I truly just missed it. Don't know what happened. I'm a huge Star Wars person. I think I just wasn't, I almost never play on PC. I'm almost console exclusive.
Yeah.
So I think it took, I don't remember, what was that Steam knockoff, GOG? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, good old games.
GOG. Yeah,
GOG, yeah. I think it was that I was like, oh, there's a Star Wars game that's not too old that I missed, and it's single player and all that. So, yeah, just a blind spot for me. Embarrassing to play it that late, but I got there.
Can I ask what your alignment was the first time you played through?
Evil. Dark.
Wow.
Dark. I was sort of wavering, and then I was like, there's no point. Go big or go home. But I played it light and dark.
Yeah, I did light the first way through because even now I feel bad being mean in video games for some reason. So I always do the good playthrough, and then I'll be a bad boy the second time I play through.
Yeah, this is a slight tangent, but on that note, there's a mobile game that Night School just put out in tandem with Black Mirror called Thronglets.
Oh wow!
If you've watched Thronglets. Watch the Black Mirror episode first. And it's a great episode. But they put out the game that he's playing in it, and I adore it. But it's also got a personality matrix that you can work your way through as the game goes on, and it'll tell you what type of player you were by the end of the game. And the first time round, they make you feel bad about going dark. And so the first time I was like, no, don't kill my Thronglets. And so I played it like an absolute Boy Scout. And then the second time round, I was like, I'm going hard. We're building a bridge out of bones. I'm doing it.
Heather, we might have to do like a Star Wars games episode someday, because the list that I have of the ones I adore, like KOTOR, is just too long.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. That was your number 3. We're staying with you for number 2, though. We're getting close to the top.
Ooh. All right. Well, my number 2, this was a real... I had to think about, like, do I bump this to number 1 because of it? But I'm staying the course. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh.
Just an absolute masterpiece. And it not only did it take me, I was taken by it.
Yes.
I was kidnapped and I was not returned. It was some of the best writing. I also played Last of Us late, so maybe if I had played Last of Us first, I've played them now, but like I played it after Red Dead, and maybe if I had played that first, I'd be talking about that one right now because it's also a masterpiece. Red Dead is what got me into game writing.
Wow.
I was just like, oh, well, this is incredible. This is what I want to do. And then I fully realigned my career.
Oh my gosh. When did this strike you? Like 2018, 2019, 2020, around there? Before you started working?
I started working end of 2021, I think, in games.
Yeah.
So this probably would have been late 2019.
Gotcha. Oh,
I never play anything right on release. So
dude,
all of my references are a little behind.
Dude, same here. This is one that I've been saving for the rainiest of days. Like at one point,
you haven't played it yet?
I've not touched Red Dead 2. It's kind of like
You're in for a treat.
I know. There are even like TV shows that I know I'm gonna love. Like before I ever watched Veep, I just knew, I was like, that's gonna be one of my favorite shows of all time. And then I finally dove in, and that happened. This is kind of like that. But Heather, Red Dead Redemption 2. Have you gone back to it since that monumental time?
I just started it. I never played any of the online game, and then mostly because I was just so attached to the single player that I was like, I know there's more, but I can't let this go. And then a couple of friends of mine were like, we got to posse up. Okay, we got to posse up.
Yes. You do posses on the game?
Yeah,
online?
if you play online, and it's essentially like a whole second game's worth of content. It's crazy.
Wow.
God, man, this is going to the book now.
Yeah. Oh God, it's
going to
so
the book.
beautiful, and it's got that open world. In a lot of ways, it brings out in me the feelings I got from Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Where it's like you're just in such a lush landscape. You have total freedom to play how you want and where you want and when you want. And you can play the game in so many different styles. You can decide, I'm just going to run around and help people. Or you can decide, I'm just going to run around and cause chaos. Or I'm just going to do the quests. Or I'm just, I'm just going to hunt and like try to get my hunting trophies. Like it's so fun.
Oh, that's so... I love that.
It might sound weird, but I think my favorite thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 is the fact that it has very good drawers.
You can open everything, and there's oftentimes stuff inside of it.
That's what I like, because like in every other game, right, you go to interact with something and you just you get a prompt that says you've obtained whatever. But I love that everything is meticulously animated, so you are opening drawers, sliding cupboards open, and physically reaching in and picking them up. If you go in first person view, you see your hands going, you see the item there, you pick it up. And it's one of those games that made me realize what I love about this kind of game is just the fact that it encouraging you to take it easy and stop and smell the roses and just really appreciate the moment to moment. It isn't streamlined for quality of life to make sure you're always killing something or always upgrading or leveling. It's just always like, dude, just appreciate the space and just like really take it all in. And again, just like you said, an incredible sense of space.
Yeah, totally. And it feels so lived in. It's the environment is so amazing, but the writing is stunning. It's the story takes you and doesn't let go. It's some of the best game acting out there. It's I mean, this is really neck and neck with Last of Us. This one just is a bigger game, and so I kind of had to rank it up there. But
I love it. That's your number 2. We're eventually going to get back to you for your final answer. But Nick, let's get your number 2.
Number 2 is a thing that I didn't know could exist until I experienced it, but the original Dark Souls.
Ooh.
That's the one for me that, I think for the longest time as I got into high school, I kind of fell out of love with video games because, that during that time it was like the Nintendo Wii had come out, which I could recognize was a thing that I was like, I'm happy that people are excited about this, but this feels like not quite what I want from video games. It feels like it's aiming towards a younger audience, people who maybe are playing games for the first time, which is okay. But, I'm going to focus on high school or whatever. And then I saw, and admittedly, they lured me in with their incredible marketing on the Western market of this game is hard and you'd be an idiot if you didn't try and play it. Like just the edgelord humor and like sensibility of like, you're going to die playing this game, you jerk, and you're going to like it. And it's just like, there was something inherently appealing about a game that is actively recognizing that it's hard. So I was intrigued by it. But what after experiencing it, it was a thing that I didn't know you could do with games. Again, that's a pretty common refrain tonight. The fact that the story is there for people who really want to nitpick it and figure out what's going on. There's resources available, but just the idea that the whole game is thematically aligned around the idea of just keep trying. And it is an interesting allegory that applies to many aspects of life that I think is just profoundly human and something that I think is such a good adaptation of what it means to be human, but in video game form. And just from the in-world lore build, world building, the weapons, the hand-to-hand combat, the idea that you are locked into your animation when you push attack, the fact that you have to commit to a button press is a thing I really appreciate. It's why I love the original Castlevania, because once you jump, I hope you really wanted to jump because you're stuck there for the next 3 seconds. But just so I guess it has such a vision that I didn't know that a game could have, and just it's badass. I didn't know what Berserk was at that time, so the fact that people were like, wait a second, this is like Berserk. Well, I was like, I've never heard of that. What is that? I was like, oh wait, I've seen that on anime dudes who have pickup trucks that have a Berserk sticker on it. I was like, I should check that out, and it would go on to become one of my favorite things in the world. And just I guess the big thing for all of my games and my top 5 is just they're all kind of loosely influenced by all of the things that I kind of enjoy, the things that I think draw me to media in general. And it just somehow they've influenced each other in ways that they didn't intend to. And it's just this weird byproduct of, art influencing the people who would go on to make art. And it's just all comes together in just this unique, cool fantasy world that feels familiar, but is very Grimm's fairy tale where it has a darkness to it. And man, it's just, there's so much to be said, but I will spare us all the time.
Dude, I was waiting. I know peripherally how big of a Souls fan you are. And so I was like, which one is going to be on this list and where is it? And there it is. Dark Souls, the original.
I love them all, but yeah, it's the original.
That's your number 2. Zig, we're back to you for yours.
It's The Last of Us 2.
Ooh.
It's the themes, the story, the acting is incredible. I mean, I don't want to spoil the TV show, so I won't go into depths about it, but it's a game that is my favorite. It may be. I think it is my favorite video game experience. Not necessarily the most fun I've had playing a video game, but like the experience of like taking it all in, the themes, like the actual mechanics of being like, oh, video games, they operate like you are in control. It was the first game where I'm like, I feel like I'm being forced to do this, and I don't like. I want to hit X to talk things out. Like, where's that menu option?
Yeah.
Where can I resolve these issues? Like, that's not there. Like, you kind of sort of white knuckle it, and it's a game that the theme is very obvious, but it's a game. It's a game where the theme, I think, is incorporated into the mechanics very well. Where again, you're forced to do things that you don't want to do, and whether or not you have any say in it, like you are forced to see that revenge is not a good thing. Even the sort of the smaller moments, like when the first time in the game where there's a section in the game where like enemies appear humans and they have attack dogs. And the first time that I killed a human, I saw the dog like start whimpering and like go around the body. Like I started crying and I turned the game off and I didn't play it for 2 days. And I've never had that happen before. Like we've all played games. We've all amassed countless bodies and deaths and knocked this toll. But like it's the first time where like I've seen the toll of that, or like having you shoot an enemy and having one of their NPCs be like, oh, Chris, what do you like? Just that level of humanization. They got Billy, like really like affected me deeply. Also like the actual animation, like I was watching a clip the other day where like Ellie gets hit across like the top of a car, and like the way that she rolls across the car, then like into the wall, like just that level of detail is just so meticulous, especially if you like worked in game development and you've seen like the mocap stages. Like it's just really, really impressive. And last of it was like just the emotional slog of it, like being, I'm saying forced in a good way, but being forced to play like a 40-hour game where halfway through you're like, I think I won't off the ride. Like but you're still like motivated. You're still like captivated and having to see it. Like I've never had that experience before. Like it's a game I've only played twice. I don't know if I'll ever play it again, but it has deeply left its imprint on me. And I'm very excited that people are starting to rediscover the series, like Connor said, thanks to the TV show.
Yeah.
And I if you play any game, please just set aside like 80 hours. I know this is a crazy sentence. Set aside 80 hours to play The Last of Us 1 remaster and The Last of Us 2. Like it's just a beautiful example of like what the power of storytelling in video games can do. And I can spend the next 3 hours talking about how impactful that game is.
Yeah, the reason I didn't put it on my list is because I was like, it's kind of like saying name good bands and then naming the Beatles.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, we know that's a good band. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost a given. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's incredible. Naughty Dog is an incredible studio. Like, and having that be next to like the Uncharted series is also it's incredible. That it's wild.
Yeah.
I really like I completely agree. I think that the game does a good job of forcing you to endure the pain of revenge.
Yeah.
But the thing that always is like a thing that I always keep in my back pocket is like, I know violence is a vicious cycle, as is revenge, but why'd you have to make the combat so good though?
Ooh, like this hurts so good.
Like the improvisational nature of combat is just so freeform in a way, like if your brain reacts to certain things in ways that it happens at the drop of the hat, and the game allows you to do the things that you think you need to be able to do in order to succeed. Like I always love the gameplay clips of just people like, watch me take down this segment of the game like as effortlessly as possible. You're watching was like some anime character step into Ellie's shoes, and just like I love games that have hidden mechanics that they don't outright tell you exists, but by being someone who's who knows what verbs you are allowed to work with, what tools are available to you, the game will allow you to do things. So like I'm always thinking of when you jump off of a roof or a tall place and you can actually plunge your knife into somebody from above and get an instant kill. That is not a thing that the game teaches you at any point in time, but because you think I'm going to jump on this guy and I'm going to swing my hand because that's what I've been taught to do, the game allows you to do that and it rewards you for that with an instant kill. And it and it's just like, and it has a level of momentum momentum to it where it feels clumsy, but in an elegant way where it's like,
Yeah,
these are
it
real
seems-
human
yeah.
bodies.
Yeah, people are like trying to figure out their balance. Like they have heavy ass backpacks on, and I'll move on very quickly. But like, it's also the only game I played where like there's a shooting sequence in the game that is absolutely fucking terrifying. And I played plenty of games where like you're shot at, but like there's one particular sequence where you're on the receiving end of being shot at that is like harrowing, and I've never seen that. I've never experienced that in a video game. It's absolutely fucking terrifying. In a game that has full of like undead fungus zombies, like the scariest moment is like you're being pinned down by essentially like a crazed gunman, and it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Is this the
Oh.
Abby sniper sequence? Because
Yes,
I
it's
think-
I
I literally
incredible.
got to that point the other day. I was like, yeah, this is stressful. I played
Yeah.
the game, but replaying
Yeah.
the remaster is just like, yeah, this is too stressful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that game is the epitome of like we were the real monsters all along.
Oh yeah, big time.
The humans in that game are way scarier than the zombies, except for that one big one that is like a one kill.
Yeah,
The Rat King, man.
the Rat
Yes,
King, baby.
yes, that I was. I had looked ahead because I was like just so excited playing through it that I was like, "Ooh, what's coming up next?" And then I just saw headlines that were like, "The hardest, scariest boss of the game. This is harder than anything on the other side of it." And I like couldn't sleep that night because I was just anticipating what that fight was going to
Your
be.
showdown.
I turned up all my accessibility options to be
Make
like,
the screen as bright as possible.
Yeah,
so you're
yeah.
not jump scared.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to play this more than once.
Gosh, what an absolute masterpiece. I dipped into it before the start of this new season, and I don't have time to play it with all the other video game homework on my plate, but gosh, it was Zig similarly. When I finished that game for the first time, I was blown away, and I was also convinced that I never needed to play it again because of the emotional toll.
The
But
ending shot is just so powerful.
Unreal.
It's a lot. Yeah.
well, that's your number 2, but we're actually here for you to conclude your list with whatever is in the top spot.
This is my number 1 favorite game of all time. I won't super dive into it because it's already been covered, unsurprisingly, but it is Final Fantasy VII. And I'm going to add the caveat of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, just because I had COVID late last year, and I spent 120 hours playing that game, and it is... I'm not even hyperbolic. It's like the perfect remake. It's like I love everything about the scope and scale of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But as Nick already covered, I won't get super into it, but like it's complex. The eco-terrorism angle, like it's the first game where like a main character died and there was no re-up. There's no extra lives. Like when Aerith dies for the first time, it gutted me. I was like, wait, did I hit the wrong choice? Like, how do I go against this? How do I fix this? Like the exploration. Also, not unlike Nick, I had a bad memory card when I first got the game, so like it wouldn't save. So like I truly beat the first part of the game, like when you first get to like the edge of Midgard and you fight that big road boss, maybe a dozen times before I got an official Sony memory card that would actually keep my save. Dude. So like I have played the first 5 hours of that game maybe a dozen times. But the cast of characters are all so unique and interesting, and they all were all so wildly different. There's like a wolf cat dog that's been experimented on. There's like a 16-year-old klepto ninja that just loves stealing magic. There's a brooding, Batman gunslinger that's a vampire. Like it's such a wild thing to play when I was like in 5th grade. And the remake is even a bigger version of that. It's like every section is just a Ubisoft game, so you get 6 different open world maps that you get to conquer. And when you're bedridden for 2.5 weeks, it's the perfect escape for that. So like a lot of fun memories for those games. Like I've beaten maybe Final Fantasy VII maybe 3 or 4 dozen times. It got to the point where I would just beat the last 2 bosses when I needed 30 minutes to kill because it's on the Switch, and they have this great function where you can speed things up by 3 times. I highly recommend that game if you've beaten the game before.
Truly.
It makes the experience so much more palatable.
Incredible. Rebirth 2. It was just absolutely spectacular and more than I could have hoped for last year. So, gosh, again, I said this earlier when Nick brought it up, but anticipating that finale.
I can't wait.
At the end of this, I'll have you recap your full list once we all have them out. But Nick, we're finally to your top spot.
I mean, I'm sure it's no surprise. I am an open book in this regard. It's the first thing that comes to mind every time. It is easily Chrono Trigger.
Woo!
It is
Yeah.
I think it is the reason why I am the way I am. I would argue that I'm pretty 99% positive it's the first video game I've ever touched. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. But I'm fairly certain it's one of those I couldn't read, but it is a game that encouraged me to learn to read. And again, in a time where I didn't know what Japan was, I thought the word anime was pronounced anime because I'd only ever seen it written in a magazine. And the West had a very strange phrase for what that was. They called it Japanimation. It's like, all right, well, it's not really what it is. But just it was one of those things where I looked at it and I was like, why does this look like Dragon Ball Z? I don't know why, but I love it. And it's the thing, I talked about it with Dark Souls, but all of the things that I love influencing each other and somehow playing a part and rubbing off on one another and then influencing the people who would come after. But it's, again, the dream team. You have Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii. You have Dragon Ball artist Akira Toriyama. You have Squaresoft's Yoshinori Kitase and Hironobu Sakaguchi, father of Final Fantasy, forming the literal dream team to make one last ride for the Super Nintendo before they adopt the PlayStation. And it is just the thing that, to this day, it's just, I don't know if anything could hit as hard as hey, we've got they called their shot, they aimed for the fences and they knocked it out of the park. And I don't think anything can come that close when they're saying, we have assembled the dream team to make the RPG that we hope will be a farewell swan song for the Super Nintendo. And just, again, you have incredible music from Yasunori Mitsuda and Nobuo Uematsu coming in to pinch him when Yasunori Mitsuda worked himself sick, in the hospital trying to work on music for the game. And just dude, everyone's just built a little different on the development team for this game. Obviously, the development team is way more than the people who have who are listed in the dream team, but just one of those things that a good marker for the Japan influence on America and this sudden curiosity of well, I mean, it's from Japan. That's kind of cool. That's interesting. And just how it's permeated our culture in ways that I don't think I'm equipped to kind of articulate. But man, it's just, I think that this is a game that we will feel its influence till the end of time.
Truly.
And
wherever the end of time is.
Yeah, just
anytime
something
next
truly
year.
special.
Nick, you've probably seen it, but I've got a little that poster there is an end of time poster. Gosh, I think about that game every week. Chrono Trigger, an absolute all-timer. Incredible. Heather, why don't you finish this task off for us by telling us what is sitting number one for you?
I bet you can guess what mine is.
I bet I can. Do you want me to?
Do you want to 1, 2, 3 it?
Yes.
1,
2,
3. Breath of the Wild. Yeah, it doesn't work so well over Zoom, but yeah, that's what it is. It's Breath of the Wild.
I still feel good about that.
Yeah. I knew you knew it. It's Breath of the Wild. I was unwell over that game and remained. So I lost my damn mind. I was just this side of spreadsheets and slide decks of what I thought the lore was with the Zonai. And
yes,
don't get me wrong, I love Tears of the Kingdom. I'm one of the few that will still put Breath of the Wild over it. And part of that is just because it's the first of this new chapter of Zelda. It's just the feeling of looking at Hyrule out of the first cave temple, out of the first shrine, nothing beats that. That was after also so many years of not having a Zelda, then having that and with that absolutely stunning, perfect opening. It's hard to beat.
It really is. I mean, I've said it multiple times, but there's a reason that we covered it for our first ever co-op episode way back in the year 2020. It's available all over the internet for people to listen to for free. But that game, I mean, I was so excited for what the promise of the Nintendo Switch, and to have the first game on it be a new game in my favorite series that completely changed the way those games worked in some ways, but also returned to a lot of ways that that series used to work early on in its iteration. It's just an absolute masterpiece. If I were to have to pick what I think the greatest game of all time is, it might be this or Chrono Trigger for me. And I know Nick just referenced Chrono Trigger as his number one, but I know we've talked about this game a bunch, at least the three of us have, and Zig as well, but there's not much more to be said about The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you can just feel the care. You can feel that they care about it as much as we do. This is not just a title that is a cash cow.
Yeah.
This is something that they respect as much as we do.
But before I make you all list your 10 through 1s, one other thing that I really appreciate about it is how many people in my life who would not consider themselves gamers who have fallen in love with this title by just picking the game up and giving it a shot.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Heather, anything else you want to say about it before we go through your list?
The one last thing I'll say is that to that point and your experience, you can really tailor the experience to what kind of gameplay you want. That is where Tears of the Kingdom is an unbelievable feat. I mean, they really took that notion and then broke the box and were like,
yes, true.
You thought you could play a few different styles in the first one. Well, now you can also make your own machines and vehicles, and we made the map 3 times bigger.
The engineers have spoken.
Yeah,
people yearn to construct their own mechs.
Yeah, some of the I can't remember which. I want to say it's the rewind feature. One of his Tears of the Kingdom abilities is just a dev tool that they were like, this is pretty fun. We should probably let other people use it. And so fun. They did, and it's great. I love that.
Unreal. Gosh, what more can be said about that? Heather, on our way out, well, I'm going to do this with everybody, but would you list your 10 through 1 for us today?
10 through 1, going from the bottom. Oregon Trail. Uh-oh, my order is all funny.
Ooh, do you want me to list it for you since I've got it here?
My last ones might be out of whack. It's
Go
okay.
for it.
Oregon Trail. Metal Gear Solid. Bubble Bobble. Kirby's Dream Land.
Nice.
Gex, Enter the Gecko. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. Myst. Knights of the Old Republic. Red Dead Redemption 2. And Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Incredible. Nick, do the same for us.
We've got Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hands, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Kingdom Hearts 2, RE2 and RE2 Remake, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Final Fantasy Tactics, the original Nier, Final Fantasy VII, Dark Souls, and Chrono Trigger.
Amazing. Zig, it's up to you now.
I'll try not to fumble. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Mario Kart 64, XCOM, Enemy Unknown, Super Metroid, The Last of Us 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Halo Combat Evolved or Halo Reach, Advanced Wars Dual Strike, The Last of Us 2, and Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Folks, we have done it. You survived this Herculean task. I am so proud of all of you listing your top 10 favorite games of all time. That's going to do it for this episode. On our way out, though, I'm going to just leave it to you three for some plugs if you want the people to find you anywhere on the internet, if there's anything you feel like plugging today. Zig, I'll go ahead and start with you. What do you have to plug for us?
If you like comic books, check out Miles Morales' Spider-Man or Deadpool. I write both of those. And I'm assuming if you listen to this podcast, you like nerdy TV shows. Check out Futurama. I also write for that on Hulu. And that's it for me.
Amazing. Nick Limon.
Yeah, you can find me basically anywhere there is to find humans online at Advent Nick. Apart from that, my day job, I work at IGN. We have a big event coming up in early June called IGN Live. Hit me up if you're interested in attending. I I think I can get tickets or at least discounted tickets, but regardless, I'm going to be directing that show. So it should be a good time. And hey, you could probably get a bunch of free stuff there. So that's also fun. Apart from that, I also just work at IGN.
Amazing. And last but not least, Heather Woodward.
Hey, you can find me on Blue Sky and on Instagram. I'm not really on anything else. Heather Woodward on Blue Sky, Woodward Heather on Instagram. I am a former writer for Apex Legends, and my Legend just released.
Yes.
I wrote the Legend Sparrow.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of my little Bambino. So, I feel like the team knocked it out of the park making him. So give him a play.
I love it. Incredible work there, Heather. I'm so excited to even see more from him. Well, folks, thank you three for joining me for this episode. I'll go ahead and close this out with some plugs of my own. The cover art for Call Me By Your Game is done by Glenn J. You can find him and his great work on Instagram. Link in the show notes to everything that we've plugged so far. We are produced, edited, and the original music is done by Jeremy Schmidt. You can thank him for his hard work by listening to his podcast, Video Games, a comedy show. You can follow the show all over the internet on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube as well. So give us a subscription on YouTube if you don't already. You can watch a video version of this, which honestly, if you're going to watch a video version of any of these episodes, this is the one to do because you can see everyone's beautiful list written out as well as their gorgeous faces. You can also follow me all over social media, including on Twitch as well if you'd like to. And last but not least is if you like me and the conversations I have with people about video games, check us out on Patreon. Even at the free tier, there are bonuses that we give out there. But above that, there's additional video game podcasts that we release every month, including our current Resident Evil 4 Remake Games Club. We talked a little bit of RE2 Remake earlier, which is one of Nick's picks. We've covered that as well. That is currently airing on our free feed, our old RE2 Remake Games Club. We're almost done with that. And then right now, as a Patreon exclusive, we're covering RE4 Remake. We just love Leon Kennedy, folks. That's who we love. But yeah, there's a link to that in the show notes if you're curious. But that'll do it for this episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the next one.